was just like you, OGP student here, and he graduated from National Law School, and at the age of 24, in his very first attempt, he has cracked this examination, and he will go on to become our secretary. What secretary? So he has opted for Indian Foreign Service, not IAS. So he will be our foreign secretary, like after 35 years. Yeah. So with some luck, he can be our minister also, like Jaishankar. Right? So let's wish him that, okay? So today, I won't speak anything. So he will take over and he will be talking for half an hour regarding his journey, how he started, what are the things that he did differently, and what are the factors that helped him become a UPSC topper. And just to add few lines, he is one of the most humble toppers I have ever seen, right, so far. So he used to be so consistent in taking feedback, guidance from everyone, and he showed that humility throughout the journey and even after becoming topper also, right. So wish him all the best and hope you will have a very good session with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinay sir, for a very kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. So for me, actually, it's very recent memory, okay, for me sitting here and listening to someone who has cleared the exam, and it just feels that the whole journey went very fast, and that is what we were discussing with Vinay sir, that just few months ago I'm sitting here, and today sir has asked me to address a crowd that I was part of. So I will start my talk with how I started, because I know initially all of us are clueless. The syllabus itself is very vast, and I think one thing that you have to keep in mind is something this has worked for me, so you should make appropriate changes where applicable and then use it for yourselves rather than blindly taking one person's strategy, because there are so many toppers, there are so many strategies, so see what works for you. So one of the first things I did, in fact it was in 2020 that I started preparing. And that time, due to the COVID pandemic, I was at home. So one of the first thing is I enrolled for OGP, and that time initially it was online. And I initially finished subjects that I'm weak at. So I was a commerce student in +1 and +2, and then I did my graduation in humanities and law. So geography and environment are some subjects that I'm weak at. So like Sudeep sir is one of the best for geographies. You cannot find a better teacher. So, and even Ashish sir thought environment was really good. So these are the subjects I'm weak at. So I attended the classes for which I am weak at rather than attending all the classes. Because that way, if some subjects, polity, being a law graduate, I'm already aware of it. So I put that effort in a main subject. And because for me, so if you have to clear it like in next year, 1 year, you have to have your own timetable. That by this end year, I'll have these subjects, I'll finish these subjects. And that is the better approach, rather than ensuring that, okay, in classes I will sit and everything I will do. If you are weak in all, then take a longer time. Take a longer time to write the exam. But before writing prelims, make sure that you are clear in all these subjects that you are weak at. And the primary subjects for prelims is environment, economics, and polity. History, geography are also important, but why I am saying these three are important, because they have high rate of return. I found that history is very vast, and once we start studying history, we start making notes of history, we start making notes of NCRTs, we start making notes of spectrum, and then we spend months together. Then art and culture, 5-6 questions, but we spend months together. So always keep at the back of the mind, the effort I'm putting should be proportional to the marks that actually come. And for this I had a trick. I used to study in the library. So in front of me there was a table. First for mains, GS1, the subjects in GS1 are art and culture, history, society and geography. GS2, the subjects in GS2 paper are polity, governance, social justice and international relations. GS3 subjects are economics, agriculture, disaster management, security, science and technology. And the marks, average marks that from each subject that comes, and I should stick that in front of me. And for prelims also, the expected marks from each subject, the questions used to come. So this gives you a sense of guidance that, okay, this much effort should be put in this much subject. So you don't overdo or underdo any subject. So that is one guidance, and that is very important. Give proportional effort into a subject that you have, that the number of questions that they ask. So first pointer was proportional effort to the proportional marks. Second, for prelims is very important. Prelims you don't need out of out, right? The cutoff is a bit decreasing vein. This year it is predicted to be in 80s. So you should be careful with CSAT. A lot of people it has happened that though they are 100 plus in paper 1, paper 2 CSAT they are losing out. For me it was a comfortable, I had a comfortable buffer, so it was not a worry. So but for some people who do not have the background, I would suggest to work on CSAT thoroughly. It should not be something that you do in the last moment. And now coming to paper 1, now as I said, the cutoff is not 200, the cutoff is around in 80s. So your effort should be how much it is to get to clear the prelims, not to like top or get very high marks. My pointer was in a mock, consistently if I'm scoring in all the mocks 120 plus, that is the time I was very comfortable with prelims. And it might be a bit inconvenient for you all that now we are in 50s or 70s, how do we make the jump to 120 plus? But if you do enough mock tests, you have subject wise and textbook tests, and you should keep one thing in mind, while doing mock tests, there are certain kinds of questions. One question is current affairs that comes from an obscure current affairs topic. I used to not lose sleep if I do wrong in these questions. Like I used to not, over analyze, read the entire thing for these questions because these are obscure. Here I used to test my elimination strategy, has it worked, my background knowledge, has it worked. But in static question, if there is a 100 question test you are doing, around 50 to 60 at least will be static. If I do wrong in there, then I used to refer back to my notes that why it went wrong or write these down. Because to get that 80s cutoff, you need to be good in your statics and it's enough. So don't overdo current affairs also. My pointer for current affairs was I had a 1.5 hour a day set for it and I used to not do 1 minute more than that. 45 minutes paper, and another 45 minutes I used to see the Insights Daily Current Affairs, make my own notes out of it. You can do either. There are so many coaching institutes that have daily, monthly, half yearly, yearly current affairs. Either one. Just stick to one, whichever you are convenient with. That is what I did, and this is 1.5 hour, and then I ended it. So this ensures that we don't spend months together only doing current affairs. This much is enough for prelims. But while making current affairs notes, I focused on mains, because see, you can't, you will get ready notes in the market for current affairs monthly, but your own notes for mains, in the sense that good examples you can use in society or good statistic that you can put in your economics answer are very relevant. And even some, for example, in a prelims question, if you look at a test series, one question is about something about art and culture, the travelers who came to India. That's a question, and their explanation mentions all the travelers who came to India. Usually, even if you Google and if you want a list of travelers who came to India, it is very difficult to find a good source. But your test series answer synopsis will have it put very well. So if you find some static component that is useful in mains and is foundational, make notes of it or just point it out somewhere. So that I had 3 books, I did around 100 mock tests, and the entire synopsis of it was analyzed in just 3 books. So initially it takes time. You must be asking, like, doing a mock test itself takes so much, plus analyzing it 3-4 hours. But after doing 30 mock tests in 1 hour, you will do the analysis, because you know what is important. You're not looking at everything, you're looking at static, and you're making notes of only those things that are useful. So this is the pointer I did for prelims. So anything else for prelims, if anyone have specific questions on prelims? So for me, another pointer was when to write the prelims, when to attempt the prelims. I was very clear that unless my optional essay and ethics are secure, I will not even attempt prelims. So this was a very clear pointer for me. So before prelims, in fact, many months before prelims, my essay, I had started writing essay. And I used to write weekly one essay, and I used to show to Vinay sir. And this is very important, because essay has 250 marks. History, which we give so much time for answer writing practice, or geography has around 50-60 marks. So we should have proportional effort to essay and ethics, which are 250 marks papers, and a very high score in that can actually give you good rank. So starting early is suggested, because that writing skill does not come very fast. So that is what I did. Very early I started writing essays. And for ethics, what I did was, ethics also, see, one mistake I did, and this is, I'm saying from hindsight, one mistake I did was I went before content for ethics. I was just collecting examples from the newspaper, from these books. So I had done Pati Sir's classes at Insights. In fact, and DK Balaji Sir's notes I had read.
In fact, this much material was enough for me, because at the end of the day, in exam, if I'm just able to replicate these, it becomes a good answer. So ethics, very important is answer writing practice, and especially for case studies, because the pattern is very repetitive. The facts change, the persons change, but the conflict essentially, like some corruption, some political pressure or something like that, is very repetitive. So if you practice all such conflicts to write an answer, standard answers, your time will get saved. And ethics, saving time in the case study part is very important. So that was my ethics strategy. Just stick to limited sources and try writing more and more answers. That will work. And how do you do answer writing? Is one more question. Like initially, if most of you all are beginners, you can't at the start go start writing answers. You will have some inertia, like you will not have content, or you'll take more time to write the answers. One strategy I used to follow was secure or some. I should take some the I will or any test series. I should read the question. I should read the synopsis in the morning. 5 questions I read, 5 synopsis I read. In the evening, I should time and write it. So initially, once you do this, you will start writing answers at least, because you will always have that fear that I don't know anything. But if you do this, like morning you read the question and the synopsis, you'll start writing answers. Second and very important for mains is to structure the answers very well. That is a very important skill, because content you can develop post prelims also. You can read some content, you can read some notes. But writing fast, structuring the answer is important, and that practice should come earlier. So if you do that, that is one thing I did, and I found it very easy to finish the test. In fact, during GS3 paper, I had to rush to the washroom. 3-hour paper, and 15 minutes I lost there. But still, I was able to complete the paper at least because of this practice I had done. And this is something I found useful. And even mock tests, try to do it before prelims only. Like try to have written at least one full-length test before prelims. Does not matter if you are not able to finish all 20 questions. In fact, even 2 months before prelims, I ended my mains preparation. And by then, at least I was writing 16, 17 answers. And I think that is a good place to be in. Because post prelims, when you do intense answer writing, it will jump out to 20. And UPSC answers are a bit easier than the mock test, so you will have some buffer time. So this was my strategy for mains. Also, another thing, when you are doing prelims, keep mains in the mind. And this is very important. Because just clearing prelims, that 3 months is not enough to prepare for mains. And I think I overdid prelims preparation. This is one mistake I did, which was not necessary. So when one advice I can give you all is, if you are in 120 range in a test series, insights, or any coaching test series, you take multiple coaching test series and see your range. If you are scoring 120 plus, no matter what test is in front of you, you're very comfortable. Even 100 plus, in fact, then you should focus on mains. So at least that pointer should be there. Then, and okay, another thing, NCRTs, right? That's one thing. Initially, as a beginner, I had that question: what NCRTs to do, how much to do. History and geography NCRTs, you have to do all of them. 6th to 12th, and especially 12th NCRTs, because we are seeing in prelims questions are coming from there. Even geography 6th to 12th NCRTs, you should do all of them. For other subjects, class notes will do, or for example, Polity Lakshmikant, as you're aware, and don't do the notes in the first reading. I did that mistake. So when I started in 2020, I took 6th standard NCRTs and I was preparing notes out of 6th standard NCRTs, which is clearly waste of time. Like fire, why fire is used by the ancient people. I was making notes of all that. And bulky notes, and it's not even useful for anything. So what strategy you can do is read 3-4 times, even Lakshmikant, whatever. If necessary, make notes out of it. NCRTs is not suggested, but if some people need immediate pointers to revise, you can make, but not in the first reading. Then you will not repeat basic things in your notes, like constitution's definition and all that. We've seen so many people just writing all that in your notes and making bulky notes. So keyword based notes is a better way of making notes, is what I found. So I've covered current affairs. I've covered how foundational subjects you have to do initially. And optional is one thing that I've left. So for optional, what I did was, mine was law optional. Is there any law optional students here? Yeah, it's a very rare to find a law optional. And the problem with that is, then we didn't have tests materials or any coaching for it, and nothing we had. So that problem might be there for other optionals also. Commerce, medical science, optionals also face that problem. For that, I think if you are graduated in that subject, focus on your academic notes and use those quality answers. That is the only pointer I can give. Otherwise, I think you have good codes for other options here. So essay, thankfully, I had a good leap over other papers, and I think that is what really helped to push my rank. So what I did for essay, how do you start writing essay? So initially, the first essay I wrote, it's still the copy. It was all like a GS answer. It was all points. Then there was some graphs and all. I showed it to my mentor, and he said, "This is not how you write an essay." So that I realized 1 year before the exam. So many people write their first essay after prelims. Then that is the wrong time to realize how to write an essay. So 1 year before the exam, I was informed that essays are supposed to be written like this. So then you have to read, in a sense, very diverse things to write a good essay. For example, how my essay was, I'll tell you. I scored 147 in the essay paper, which is a good marks. So what I think pushed my marks is, one, my examples were very diverse. For example, I chose the topic real is rational, rational is real. It's a topic. It was a topic in the 2021 paper. I started it with mathematics and science-based arguments. How in maths itself, certain there are irrational numbers, there are imaginary numbers. Then science, the Schrodinger's hypothesis. I started with that. Then I went very philosophical, like Indian philosophical. Shankaracharya's ideas, then Mayavad, how snake is a rope and a rope is a snake. It's a Shankaracharya's idea. And the Vedic, I wrote Kalpa Shastras, where Samkhya philosophy says Pratyaksha, Anumana and Pramana are ways to gain knowledge. It's a very rational philosophy. So that is where I started. Then I came to the Western philosophers, Descartes, Comte and all. I gave their ideas. So you might be finding these are like, how can I write? These are very intellectual arguments to make. But when you're doing your art and culture classes, when you're doing your environment classes, collect pointers that can be used in fact diverse areas. If you find something interesting, especially in subjects such as history, art and culture, they give you a lot of examples from there. Try to use them in your essays. And it is a skill, it will not come overnight. In fact, after writing so many essays, I could use any example in any essay. Like I had just 150 examples set, that no matter what essay come, I could structure the example for that essay. So that is one skill that comes like after practicing enough times. And then the conclusion was very unique in the sense that something that will evoke a sense of interest in the reader. That is a kind of conclusion I had. So that is something you could do. And my second essay was diverse. Second essay I did not use any intellectual argument. Very basic, In fact, the second essay I wrote was there are better practices to best practices. I started that essay with my mother's recipe for rasam and how she invented it over my grandmother's. It is better. It's very simple, home-based example. And all the examples I used there was very simple. I did not cite even one intellectual philosopher. It was a strategy I applied. So if I show diverse answers, I thought if some evaluator does not like an intellectual answer, he likes the second answer. Someone will like the second answer, so it will be balanced. So that is a strategy I used. It worked. So showing some diversity of thought within your essays and comparing it to others is very important in the essay. And that is why it is important that you don't start your essay preparation by reading someone else's essay. So don't start it by online you read some essays. They do not match up to the quality. And you should also think that once an evaluator is reading so many essays, your essays should stand out. The only way it does is it has some unique argument. And I'm sure Vanessa will take classes on brainstorming and how do you divide a topic. And this is something my mentor suggested, Vishnu sir, he was a mentor here, and this is something he suggested I found useful for essay. So initially you might find difficult to write full pages. So what you can do is, while having breakfast, Insights puts weekly essay topics. Just go 3 months before, pick a topic and think about it. Think about various arguments for that topic, just while you're having breakfast or you're on a metro, or just think about different dimensions for that topic. Just doing that, after a month you do that, in 5 minutes, when you see the topic, you can write down the dimensions and it will save time. So this is one thing that you can do. So if you can't read books now, I know it's too late to read some very good authors and cite their arguments. Hindu has something called, on Sundays I think, Sunday Magazine. Sunday Magazine has a page, book reviews. So there will be book names and there will be good summary of the book, one on paragraph. If you find that any book has good interesting argument in the summary, Just Google the book, read its summary, 1 page. So you can cite those book. It's a very reputed author, like ex-Reserve Bank governor has made this book in which he makes this argument. Just note it down in your book. Don't overdo it because it should be on diverse topics. Economy, 5 things you have, environment, 5 things. If an environment topic comes, you have 5 good people you can cite. Like that, have a collection. That will help because then you can use those 5 authors no matter what economy or environment topics come. So that is one thing you can do if you don't have time to read these books. Another thing that I found useful for philosophical essays, considering now philosophical essays are coming more, is Times of India has a blog called Speaking Tree. You can just Google Times of India Speaking Tree blog. There they have philosophical articles, very simple layman terms, but they are very beautiful examples. All the articles are not good. Some authors write very good articles. So just glance through it and read those articles. You will get a very unique way of writing philosophical essays. So this is one more thing that I found useful. Apart from that essay, I think practice is important. Do practice as soon as possible. Show it to your mentors, show it to Vanessa, incorporate their feedback. And sometimes you get conflicting feedbacks. And this is something you will not realize now, but after a while you realize that mentor is saying something, your insights evaluator is saying something, probably Vanessa is saying something else. In that, I think it is better to have a bit of confidence in the way you are writing. As long as it is something unique, I think that it should be good. Don't take the evaluations on the face of it. Like some evaluations mention that, okay, your thesis statement is not there, so your marks go down. So don't take on the face of it. A unique essay is what works, is what I have learned, and I think that is something you should remember. So this is how some pointers on essay preparation. So, interview, you might think that it is way ahead, why should we start preparing? But for me, it happened that, it came very suddenly, in a sense that I had just 1 year, I was fully focusing on prelims and mains. I never gave it much thought. But if there was some stage of the exam that really, gave me the chills, it was interview. Because you have already made it till there. 30th May was the result of UPSC and 5th June was the prelims. If I not cleared on 30th May, 5 days I have to prepare prelims. So this time it was this problem was there that do I prepare for prelims or do I prepare for interview? So my learning has been that had I started a bit earlier, it would have been easy. At least had I started after mains, it would have been much easier because I started after the results came. In fact, I made my DAF, though Vanessa was since the first day was insisting that think about your DAF, think about unique hobbies. I actually got down, sat and structured my DAF 2-3 days before submitting, and I had 3 visits to Vanessa and then got it polished. So don't be in that situation. I think if you can think about good hobbies and unique hobbies to write, it helps you in the interview. And why it helps you is something I can vouch for. In my interview, I had written 3 hobbies basically. One was competition and antitrust research. So you might, it's a law and economics thing. Second was street plays, and third was coffee brewing. So these 3 are the 3 hobbies I mentioned. These 3 are relatively unique compared to yoga, running and trekking, which are very common. So once the interview board sees such hobbies, you are sure that questions will come from there because they are unique. No one can miss it. And for me, most of the questions came from there. It was my comfort zone. I could answer well. I got one of the good marks in interview. You could say in top 5 percentile at least. So I think this was one of the reasons that helped because it was a unique interview. It was not just another interview for them. So find your own unique hobbies. You have 1 year, right? In your free time, you can develop, think and read about it. That way you are well prepared for interview because then you don't have to read everything for interview. If you write very basic hobbies, then you will have to read everything, no question. In fact, if I see other people who went to interview and I read their transcripts, so usually people upload their transcripts. So when you see the transcript that they're asking like, which is the state district in Karnataka that has highest rainfall, or some random questions, right? Which is the, what is the difference between flag hoisting and Independence Day and Republic Day? Such questions, you won't know all that. But luckily for me, not even one such question came. And why was it? Because my interview and DAF was unique, so they had enough to ask from there. So they were not in a way taking my case. It was a very communication type. It was not like those that you see in YouTube. It was very different and genuinely different. Like the feeling is really different. That was because the DAF was unique, they asked from there. So if you have time, so think of this, Google the DAF in fact format. So you see the format, there are in fact 3 main things that you have to fill. Awards, sports and NCC, and third one is your hobbies and extracurricular interests. So try finding some entries to that and keep that ready. That will help after you clear mains, which you should go with the mindset you will. And one more mistake that I did was, while preparing, a bit of self-doubt was there. And I think if that was not there, for example, though Vinay sir warned me against it, my time before the interview was spent mostly preparing for prelims. Because the sense of self-doubt, that will I make it or not. I was giving mock tests and all, which I think was unnecessary and I wasted my time. So have a bit of confidence. The whole journey will be a bit better. You will have a better preparation time. This is another suggestion I would like to make. So, okay, this is about the choosing your resources, right? So, what you should do is, on the first day, if you're starting now, make a subject list, economy, polity, and various other subjects, and list it as per priority. And then the second column, write your resources. Talk to toppers, talk to Vinay sir, talk to your mentors. Find the best list of sources which you think is enough. For example, for history, NCERT, Tamil Nadu NCERT, and Spectrum is enough. So you did that. But someone told me, why haven't you read Bipin Chandra? It is so important. So if I leave Spectrum and if I start reading Bipin Chandra, then I waste even more time for a little bit of questions that come from history. So if you not Spectrum, then Bipin Chandra, whichever, choose one, read it 3-4 times. That is the best. And now, with regard to the question of which to choose, advanced book versus NCERT. So history and geography, NCERT you can't miss. Because other sources, I don't know, NCERT questions are coming directly from there, especially for geography, some tables and all from the NCERT, directly the question was asked. So if that's such easy, low-hanging fruits are there, you should not miss. So history and geography are the only two subjects where NCERT I feel is compulsory. For economy, polity and all is not that necessary. If you're doing class notes, if you have class notes, or for polity you're doing Lakshmikant, you don't need to do NCERT. And with a pinch of salt, because I'm a law graduate, I didn't have to do NCERT for polity. If you need more time, if you have to spend in that subject, you might have to do NCERT. So go by your convenience. A science graduate, you don't have to sit and read NCERTs of science back to back. Even I didn't do that. So for which subjects NCERTs are required, you should have that clearly put. And once you make a source list, never second doubt it. Let 10 people come and tell you that book is better, this book is better. That is the source list which you will revise and go. And that is less harmful than changing your sources closer to the exam. So do that. And see, and that ties to the first thing that I said. Prioritize as per subjects. Now, art and culture, you take an advanced book, okay? You take Nitin Singhania, let's assume. It's a standard book everyone reads. You start reading from the first page. You will waste so much time. 1 month you will read first chapter. Because it's a very big first chapter from which questions don't come. So when you're taking any advanced book, go by the questions that usually come. For example, Buddhism is an important component of an art and culture. So when you buy any advanced book, start with the chapter on Buddhism and finish it well. If you have time, do the other chapters. This applies to everything. Just after NCERTs, your advanced book reading, even Spectrum, start with the later chapters, education during British time, polity during British time, from which questions come, rather than starting from the first chapters. And even in Lakshmikant, all chapters are not important. Basically, before prelims, optional ethics and is done, your work is almost done, because your prelims knowledge helps for GS papers. And other subjects like society, governance and all, you can read post prelims also. So that way, that is the balance you have to strike. Optional, try to do it at the earliest.
During the course of revision for prelims, would you advise to write test series or not?
So the thing I did was 2 months before prelims, I stopped main preparation. I focused solely on prelims because there's no point if you don't clear prelims of all the things. So that is what I did. Until 2 months, you can keep writing tests or everything. But once 2 months before prelims, you should focus only on prelims. What about the study schedule, daily routine? I did not have a fixed study schedule. I'm a person who studies like when I have the concentration or the kind of drive to study. In 12 hours, I'll study for the whole week. Then 1 week, I might not study. To be fair, that is what I did. I don't want to tell you like studied for 10 hours and then you are like, even I have to meet that 10-hour goal. That is what I did. But I think daily routine helps to build discipline and consistency, which are very important in this exam. So at least for me, I did not have fixed routine, but I had a mental map that, okay, by the end of this month, these 3 subjects I have to finish. So no matter what, 1 week I'll finish this subject or I'll divide it. It is on me. But these 3 subjects I have to finish. That is what I followed. Okay.
Please elaborate ethics answer writing. How
So I was advised by my mentors to look at Vishakha Yadav's answer. It's on just you can Google toppers copy Vishakha Yadav. She got one of the highest marks in ethics, I think 165 or something, which is very high. So her answers can be something you look at least to get going, because ethics answers should be a bit unique. And my marks in ethics was not that good. I got 100, which is around average. So what I could have done better is practiced more. That is what I'm saying. Because my time management in the during the paper was not that good. So answer writing is important. How you write is a different question. Vishakha Yadav can be a template because she has gotten marks. You can look at her answer, how she has written. She writes in small paragraphs, 2-line paragraphs, where it's a different way of writing compared to GS. That's why I'm saying practice at beginning only, because once you do so much GS practicing, you'll start writing ethics also like GS. So practice in the beginning only, and show your mentors. Ethics should have unique examples, unique introductions and conclusion. That you have to collect from newspaper or some ready notes you'll find, toppers notes. Do that and collect them. That is what I would suggest. Yeah. Yeah. So I faced a similar dilemma to take law or to take a PSI or PubAd. I had equal interest in both, and for those coaching and test series were more streamlined. I went with law because for me, though the marking is lower in law, I spend very less time preparing for law. I can hone my GS skills, which is new, and I can work on it. In fact, I gave 1 year, 3.5 months of preparation. October 2020, I properly started. So in that time, I could finish it because law was my graduation. So if for you there is some kind of convenience and interest, you can take your graduation. But yes, as I said, there are problems that you don't have coaching and all. So write a test, show it to some of your mentors or someone in that subject. If the answers are good, you are doing well, then stick with that. But no, I am equally bad in both. Some people sometimes a graduation, the college will be something totally different compared to UPSC. If you are equally bad in both, you can take for which coaching and everything is equally available. That is what I would suggest. I think for economics, I did Mrunal's notes. You get them on Telegram. I did that. Ramesh Singh is a book that people suggest. You can do Sir's classes also in Insights. Science and technology. Science and technology is basically current affairs is what it comes from. I didn't do any specific course for science and technology. In fact, my friend attended Ravi Agrihari sir's classes that was going on. I just took his notes and read it. That's what I did. So any material you find, I think the smallest material you can do. Also, APEC classes is there I think they took science and technology classes for us. I don't know, sir will take them or not. That is very useful. In 3 days or so, sir covers the entire science and technology syllabus. So if you're taking APEC classes, that is something you can do. Don't waste too much time in science and technology. Just do the current affairs. I think that will be enough. Because most of you are engineering graduates or some graduates, I would assume. So it's not a big hurdle.
Did you put emphasis on Yojana and Prelims?
I did not read them. I don't overdo this Rajya Sabha analysis, Yojana Kurukshetra. It's just wasting time.
So what were your pointers to know that you're on the right track?
Okay. You never know actually. In sense, one pointer is your mock scores. If they're increasing, then you can be confident that you're on the right track. Second pointer is your mentor feedback. You write answers and give. Are you able to do 20 questions in 3 hours? 15 today. Yesterday I was doing 12. Now I'm come to 15. These are some pointers. And do past year questions. If you are able to answer past year UPSC questions well, I think that is one guide you can use. You should always be referring again and again to past year questions, because even the syllabus you are referring and all is important at past. This is one thing I did. I took 20 years prelims paper, and as I read, right, art and culture from recently, I wrote specific subtopics from which questions are coming. For example, I saw that Buddhism is a repeated thing in art and culture. In geography, somehow in mains, the Arctic is their favorite region, Arctic and Antarctic. Some question comes from there. So you have such theme list. Then you can prepare based on theme wise also. That is one other way of preparing. For prelims also you can do that. 20 years just glance through, repeated themes are coming from one thing. Like for example, environment national park. always comes. Geography, places in news. If you prepare theme wise also, you can finish prelims. That way you won't go off track. So don't take a book and I have to finish this book. See the syllabus and then see that whether you're preparing is relevant for that syllabus. Okay. So I said that practice, right? Read the answer and question in the morning and write in the evening. Just the presentation and writing the points, how much time it is taking for you. See that. Content develops. Like when you're doing prelims preparation, post, when you're doing intense test writing, you will have that very standard way of starting. Like for a history question, I used to immediately say I'm going to start my introduction with specific dates. Like a Bhakti literature question came, I started with the Bhakti literature were prominent from 9th to 10th century. For an economics question, I'm going to start with some statistics. Okay, the GDP question comes, India's GDP is this much. For a geography question, I start with definition. So if some keyword is there, what is volcano and all, I'll start with volcanoes are some very technical definition I'll give. So if you have such mental maps already ready and it comes with practice, it becomes very fast. You will immediately start writing. And even conclusions, be with ready conclusion. For history, I tried to conclude with a current affair example. Like the Bhakti literature question, I said, recently we saw the Statue of Equality being inaugurated, showing how the Bhakti movement continues to stay relevant. For current affairs, I used for conclusion. For geography, I used some like economy as a conclusion, something like that. Some unique way of concluding. So if that is ready and that is enough practice, your time will automatically reduce. See, reading newspaper is a hard and fast code. Particular, I don't think so. Hindu is to read, but Indian Express is equally good. But not the new Indian Express, the Indian Express. I wouldn't suggest you to do that because you're reading newspaper not for prelims. You're reading it for your essay. So I used to read on an iPad. So what I used to do is, if I find something interesting, I used to cut it and put it in a document. Some interesting statistic that came in an editorial. So I have a document that has just the quotes, just the interesting quotes and all that I can use in my essay. Because you've read the whole editorial, once you revise it, you remember it and you can use it in your answers. So read the newspapers. You have time, right? If you're preparing for next year, you have enough time to read the newspaper. So what I used to do is, as soon as I get the newspaper, I used to cancel out all the political articles. So once you reach the editorial page, any political analysis, cancel it. Any repetitive articles, like Russia-Ukraine used to come so many months together, cancel it. Then you read what is left, then you read. So even for others, you should go to the national page, you should read the national page. If time is a constraint, read the national page. You can skip the state and city page. If you find very interesting ethics, something you can use, then you just glance through the headlines. If time is a constraint. And don't spend more than 45 minutes on newspaper. That is another pointer you should have. I think persistence is very important. Don't lose hope. This exam is like that. Post mains, post prelims, and after interview, you will have a very big pang of uncertainty. Just have confidence, and if things go wrong, also be ready to write again. That is the suggestion. And at the end of the day, some amount of luck is required. I will not say this is because some of my friends equally capable and equally intelligent didn't make through. Now you ask the question why they didn't make through. Some amount of luck is required. So don't stick that okay, one attempt he did, I'll also do one attempt. So there are other your luck might strike in the third attempt or some second attempt. So be consistent and don't lose hope is what I would say. Thank you. For mains I did because subject wise notes I had.
Sir, why IFS, why not IAS?
See, this is one more thing. Even before I was writing my DAF, my dad insisted and said, why you will go, you have to stay here, take IAS, take IAS. It's your interest. Now, you see DC, SP, you see them having so much power, you see I want to be this. But you're seeing a 36-year career, right? So DC, SP for how many? 5 years. Something you will enjoy for 36 years to do, you should think of. And I was very particular about IFS. So one question I asked myself when my dad put so much force that why put IAS, we want you here only. We have a big family here. If you go abroad, you're the only son, what will happen and all. So when such emotional questions come, I think one thing you should ask is what instigated you to do this preparation. Okay, if for example, and in terms of service, think of a service that you want to join. Don't settle, okay, government job I want. That is not the outlook I had. In fact, I had very good opportunities in the private sector also. Why I took the preparation was I had my own reasons, and why I found diplomacy interesting. I had my seniors. In fact, one of my seniors whom I was really inspired, he was press secretary to Prime Minister of India. He is a Washington political head now. So very inspiring jobs. I thought like that is the role that fits me. So I took the sort of filled the preference. So while filling the preference, have that also in mind. Or it should not be impulsive. It should be well thought of, because it's a 36-year or 35-year or 30-year. It's you have to do something. That is what I thought was really. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Avinash, for taking time and addressing these students. So for him, it happened in so short duration. Like, speaking from my perspective, it is all about consistency and willingness to learn. So irrespective of so what he was going through, he was always willing to learn. That one quality I saw consistently in him. So he used to approach mentors, me, everyone, wherever he wanted to learn from. I think that is one differentiating factor which I think made it possible in one attempt. And the doubt was there, like even though when we were having conversation, he was telling he didn't expect to clear. And I told him that I knew that he was going to clear. Because from our perspective, we have seen so many people, and there are certain qualities which very few people display consistently, right? So when you have seen that, it makes us tell that, so this candidate, this student is definitely going to crack the examination. So I hope all of you will follow his footsteps and choose your service well, choose your path well, choose your decisions very well. So wish you all the best. Thank you so much. Right?